Apartheid is still fairly close to the surface over there. It's pretty obvious that it's very close to the surface. We went through a lot of the same things that you guys did when we went through the 60s and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of similarities in our history.
The United States, the fundamentals of the United States, the way it took so many years, it just didn't become what it is today. There's lots of things that had to happen to change it, and I think South Africa is going through a lot of those changes.
I see so much similarities, even to this day, people blame the past. It's insatiable, it's never ending, because what happens is it diminishes the true complaint about racism when it's thrown out there and it's cheapened and what have you. And so, not unlike in South Africa, where you have the majority now in power, this sense of entitlement I spoke of, in America, despite the fact that there is equal opportunity for all, and yes, sure, there's discrimination that does exist, but it's still a crutch for individuals that are not quite up to the par, people who have not taken upon themselves to better themselves or to work hard and to be qualified.
So I think that the South African migration to America is just the next step in their cultural development. Cultural development in the sense of gaining access to opportunities that would not exist in South Africa, solely in South Africa. So this is the land of opportunity, no doubt about it.
Well, a lot of times those individuals, and I'd say that's not limited to South Africans, I'd say the vast majority of individuals who come to the U.S. As visitors and then overstay, that probably comprises 90% of immigrants that come to this country.
And our poverty, when we say poverty in the United States, we still all have, it would be unheard of to not have indoor toilets. It would be unheard of if we didn't have a color TV. That's unheard of in the United States. So our poverty level is nothing compared to real poverty when you've traveled around the world. I mean, we don't know poverty.
It's a beautiful country. I loved it. I mean, I would consider moving there. I loved it when I was there.
I was so shocked even just driving out of the airport when my friend picked me up and we were driving, and to see all the businesses there, to see the landscape, to just to see how people were living there.
We took the train in to Johannesburg, and you see some of the shacks outside there. I mean, it's unbelievable. And yet at the same time, you go to parts of Johannesburg that are just gorgeous. You go, okay, now, we see a little dichotomy there.
Because there's a lot of new ideas coming out of that part of the world. And let's face it, Africa wouldn't be very far along from where it is if it weren't for the South Africans. Y'all have the open conduit into the interior, and because of South Africa and its relationship with the United States, that's what's really building a bond with a lot of the interior of Africa.
I mean, Stellenbosch is one of the most wonderful places on the face of the earth. What's not to like?
He also makes the rest of the world see South Africa in a bad light. Things that he does and says, it actually hurts South Africa as a country. And when South African politics let him get away with it, that makes the country and the continent look even worse. If I was speaking straight to Jacob Zuma right now,
Please do.
And you want your country to grow and be a good country, then I would say, where's the true open door policy? Show everything, put everything on a platter. Good examples in America, everything gets investigated. And there's an open forum, everything has to be investigated. Does everything get done right? No. But everything is investigated to a point. And when wrongdoing's done, especially in the case of things like arms deals, it comes out in the open. It doesn't get shoved under the table. If you didn't have anything wrong, Jacob, then then lay everything down on the table and let us find out what the true story is.
Regarding South Africans, we actually have some other friends in our neighborhood that are South African. They're some of the most friendly and enjoyable people that I know, and I'm always enlivened when I spend time with our South African friends. So we love South Africa, and it's great to have some of those native people here in America.
I think it's we've got a rather parallel history, both from colonial times, and as a result of that, what I find is that the South Africans have been very open to different ideas and creativity. They're very creative, and it's been pretty easy to pick up the cultural differences and meld them together so that they don't get in the way of doing business.
I think there's great opportunity for very sharp, and I'll repeat, I think there's a lot of very sharp South African business people.
Everybody that I've run into is really energized and gung-ho about doing business and about making things happen. And that's exciting. How you go about it may be a little bit different, but that's okay, and that's good.
And then one of our associate pastors is at Buckhead Church at one of our other campuses down there, and that's Justin Grunwald. And he's just an unbelievable servant himself. And one of the favorite speakers, when Justin speaks, we always have a tremendous audience, and everybody loves Justin. And he makes it easy for us because he always explains up front every time that he does speak that he's not from Australia, that he is from South Africa. So he's helped us a whole lot with our dialects when they go around here. But a tremendous person.
Over the years, I've had many experiences with South Africans. In fact, the person who serviced my Mercedes here in Atlanta for the last 10 years is from South Africa. You ask questions about my perspective, and from a work ethic standpoint, top notch. From an integrity standpoint, top notch. From a relationship standpoint, top notch.
You've got, in your country, you've got a pretty diverse population, several different languages, and we've got a diverse population, not quite as many different languages, but again, you're in a situation where creativity rules.
I've been very surprised, pleasantly, with my South African counterparts on the board, especially in terms of the willingness and the desire, really, to do business and to make business happen. I mean, the energy is palpable.
And my experience with South Africans goes back a little bit. I did have a manager that worked with me on a global basis who was a South African, and he was one of my best managers. And so I loaded his wagon with all kinds of things to do, and we accomplished a lot. Sold a business for a lot of money as a result of that because he was very talented and helped. So, it was, I already had an ease of at least a clear picture of what I thought I was going to run into working with South Africans. And of course, I found the same thing, which is talented, creative, smart people that have a common goal, which is let's get the business done in the best and most efficient manner that we possibly can.
Dealing with the South Africans has been a pleasure for me most of the time. But every so often, I'll catch myself in a jam because I don't understand the culture.
Many of us try to understand the process of globalization. We realize that for the United States, global markets are very dear, especially when we find ourselves to be a very mature and very slowly growing economy. We turn to these rapidly developing economies like South Africa.
Well, my background is an economist. I have a PhD in economics. So I'm totally wedded to the principle that growth, economic growth, depends on trade. If we don't trade with each other, no country benefits. So the aim is for us to sell what we can do well, and for South Africa to sell to us what they can do well, which means investing in each other's potentials. And the first place to do that is to get to know each other and visit each other, find out what we're like, what opportunities there are, but the eventual objective should be to trade.
I actually liken South Africa to where it is right now to sort of being like America in the 1930s, in the sense that the extremely large expenditures in heavy rail and light rail and the new finds in minerals, all those opportunities, people need to be there to do the work, and there's going to be tremendous need for support from other nations and products from all over the world to bring South Africa up to where it wants to be.
South Africa is very important for the U.S. economy as well as the regional economy here in the Southeast, and in particular in Atlanta, where we have a relatively large number of South African citizens living here, doing business here, contributing to this economy, and also serving as a bridge to the South African economy. It's obviously one of the rapidly developing economies. We see, first of all, a good middle class emerging in South Africa. We see stepped up activity in terms of entrepreneurial initiatives. We see a country that is turning progressively to be more open, more liberal as an economy, as a political entity. It offers a lot, and South Africa, I think, needs the U.S., which is a huge consumer market yet, and also a good source of education, new know-how, technologies, and in turn, the United States needs South Africa because of growing middle class and new business opportunities.
It's just like if somebody from South Africa was coming to America. You can't show up in America and just have money in your pocket and think you're going to form a company and business is going to go smoothly. We can actually go to somebody and partner, and then it's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's a win for the South Africans, and it's a win for the Americans who are looking at opportunities where there can be larger return on investment than what we're seeing over here. The clients that I've been working with are going over and actually trying to do knowledge transference and actually bring value to the community. And like I said, what we've been doing is doing joint ventures, so that's win-win. It isn't as if we're trying to come over and take advantage of the communities in which there are resources and get them for the lowest price. It's not about extracting as much as we can and bringing all the wealth back to America. It's more about understanding, the communities and actually what their needs are, and then doing some knowledge transference, and then so there can be some efficiencies on the ground, and then as we go back home to America, that knowledge is there. Those individuals can run those businesses, and we can actually come and visit.
We're looking for individuals like you and organizations like you to come to us and sort of sit down and go, look, here are the things that we're looking for when we start looking for companies in South Africa to come to the United States. These are things that we're looking for, and we'd like to work with you. What you'll find with us is very much of a two-way street. We're not going to simply sit out and dictate to you what we think you should be looking for, but we want to hear from you and folks like you, so that folks in South Africa can feel that this is a welcoming environment.
Some Americans want to move to South Africa, but a lot of them want to invest and go back home. American investors, when they're thinking about investing, they're thinking, I'm going to create a business, so if I create it, however many thousands of miles away, what's the advantage to doing that? Is the government unstable? They're wondering about all these things.
So we welcome new retail establishments, and for instance, I know that South Africa makes good chocolate, so come and open up a chocolate shop.
But in our research at Cyber at Georgia State University in Atlanta, we have been focusing on the development of middle class. Middle class is very important to emerging markets because it signals many good things. It signals, first of all,
a higher disposable income on the part of a growing number of consumers, households. That is always good. That's going to help achieve better standards of living. It also signals, in our research we find, better governance, better democracy, more freedom of speech, higher entrepreneurial activity. These are all positive things that parallel the growth of middle class. And South Africa is an example, a distinct example of those emerging markets that is helping bring people up from poverty levels to a level where they can start consuming discretionary items, whether it's better appliances for their home, better homes, larger apartments, better transportation, better health care for their families, better educational opportunities for their children. So middle class has been a telltale sign of economic, political, and social development in emerging markets like South Africa.
We're going to develop a calendar of a planned effort to educate people on doing international commerce both ways, import and export, and help them develop that process. So for companies who want to do business abroad, we're going to show them how to do it. And we will make it as easy as possible for them to come do business here. And additionally, we're going to introduce them to people who want to do business abroad. So this is a win-win relationship. We're going to encourage other companies, if you want to do business abroad, then consider South Africa and all that they have to offer. That's why we think it's more important to develop relationships. And we look forward to a very long-term relationship with South Africa.
South Africa and the African continent, with South Africa as a gateway, is really, in my opinion, the next emerging market. It's already emerged. It's just that we as Americans are just starting to find it.
So for those individuals in South Africa who think that, well, we've had a black government now for X amount of years and eventually this will dissipate, no. I venture to say if South Africa still continues to exist the way it is for the next 60 or 70 years, you'll never get away from it. It will always be used as a crutch or an excuse. Because here in America, we have now elected a black president. Okay? 47 million people or more voted for him. Whites, majority, okay, voted for him. We have shown, not only just in that act, but just simply in our society with hiring and with, you know, the standard of living and everything else. And yet, we still will have the sort of underclass using, you know, race as an excuse. And it's truly to the detriment of themselves, because then there's always pushback. The only thing that can happen is that we continue to make sure that there's equal opportunity, not necessarily guaranteed outcomes. And that's the key.
The opportunities in South Africa are tremendous.
Seeing how South Africa has changed, it only leads for more potential, more growth, a vast expansion. And people see, or people, I should say, they relate to what they think they know. But until they actually experience it and experience the kindness of people from South Africa, they'll always probably think, they think about apartheid, they think about Mandela, they think about, all these things that happened 20 or so years ago. We have to think of the new South Africa. We have to think of the opportunities there. Me personally, one of my goals is to get there and do business there, because I just found that there was a whole new world there. And a lot of times people, again, we have these things in our mind about Africa in general that it's not, developed or whatever.
Well, we have a large number of South Africans who have chosen to come to Atlanta. I can tell you from personal experience, I have a neighbor who's come from South Africa to Atlanta. Forged
great relationships with some South Africans here, and really kind of learning that it's not this ugly, picture that people paint of South Africans a lot of times, especially here. Sometimes we'll see African Americans, all they think of is apartheid. They don't think of, oh, there are people that live right here in our community that are doing great things in the community, and this was a way for us to show that, and for people to see the true faces of South Africans.
There are 9 SOS villages in South Africa. So whenever SOS Children's Villages was mentioned to the members of the South African community that you introduced us to, it was a very easy sell, as they say. I mean, there was instant recognition, and there were a lot of willing hands and people willing to help. So the South African community here in Atlanta was instrumental in building the momentum. We could have not done it without that.
It's true. You guys are awesome.
To the people of South Africa, it's amazing that we live so far away, but just how close we are with just the way things were of my family getting here. I don't know all of the stories and how it happened, but I know I was not originally from this soil. And one day I would love to come home to the motherland to see what it's like to put my feet on your soil. I know that all over the world there are people of color that are fighting for their lives. And we're finding out more and more that it's not just the people of color, it's people of economic depravity, those who have been deprived economic means, jobs, ways to survive. And now it's getting to a point where a critical mass of people all over the world are saying, when is enough enough? There's a lot of natural resources in the world. It has never run out. There's enough food. There's enough shelter. There's enough clothes. There's enough of everything to survive. I believe that the universe will always find a way to provide that for you. It always has. Even under the most dire situations, we've survived it. And I think that as we get an opportunity now to just see what is it that the universe is saying to us right now in this time and in this age, and I think it's really saying without inner peace there will be no external peace. And we're trying to teach guys and even women, even females, a way to live in peace wherever you are, whatever circumstances you're in. Because what happens is, it's hard to kill the will of a person. And if your will says that you want to have peace, then you can. And no matter what the circumstances may look like, it's only for a short period, because we're only here for a short period of time. And I think that if each of us find a way inside of ourselves to say, why was I put here on this earth for this short period of time? What am I to do? Then it's always something positive usually that comes to us. And to find peace is the most positive thing that anybody in this world can have. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to see how all over the world, literally, people are coming together to say, we want peace. Sometimes it's in conflict, but a lot of times it's just sitting on the side of the road saying, we need something that's greater than ourselves, and we don't know how to get it, but we know that peace we need.
You see, when you have a bunch of South Africans over, it's the American again who's doing all the work.
So
they're chatting and I'm cooking.
Oh,
I know.
Bryce Lawrence stole our Rugby World Championship.
You see, my husband is a Texan, and he goes to South Africa, and he embraces the culture, and he loves it. Now, what does that say about South Africa?
such a pleasure to see that the world truly became smaller. Seeing you, it's exciting because I'm like, wow, they come here. They're actually here and willing to work and willing to bring something. And I personally would love to travel to South Africa.
To you, Mr. Mandela, I want to thank you personally for your life. Thank you for the struggle. Thank you for your words, the quotes that are becoming ways of living by so many young people that we're teaching your words to. Thank you for allowing us to use you as an example, and thank you for your incredible determination all those years, and because it is still having power. All these years later, it's changing people's lives. Thank you for your willingness to reconcile with the government that caused you so much harm, and the example of love and reconciliation that you exhibited the day that you accepted your Nobel Peace Prize along with the partner that was a powerful demonstration of reconciliation and love and forgiveness, and I want you to know we're preaching that message to a generation here in America that desperately needs to know what you lived and what you've done. I pray that I'm going to be able to come and meet you sometime this year, and that is my prayer, and I hope that I can thank you in person. But until then, I just want to say thank you. We love you. We believe in you, and we appreciate everything you've done. God bless.